Alrighty, so the stats are in from last month's Daily Kingdoms, and apparently the first kingdom of the month was the hardest, with under a 6% success rate among people who attempted it. For comparison, I think the easiest 3 kingdoms of the month all had over a 30% success rate. Well, I apparently have missed out on the hardest kingdom of the month and haven't even attempted it yet, so I'm going to go back and try that one now. Let's see what we got here. I'm honestly a little bit surprised looking at this. Like in my mind, the sort of kingdom that the bot does best at is usually something, it's kind of big money-ish in nature, usually with like either coffers. I think it's usually pretty good at managing, or it really aggressively remodels. Like you give Butcher or Enlarge and it does well, or slog games like Witch. Like to my mind, something like that is where the bot succeeds. But apparently, this was its best environment. So anyways, what do I got going on here? Draw, there's Vault, Black Cat, Lackeys. That's alright. For actions, there's Lackeys Villagers, there's Coin of the Realm, there's Mastermind. Trashing, Scrap can trash estates pretty well. Not great at trashing coppers, and I'm not seeing anything better than that for trashing coppers. And gains. Stockpile is plus buy. Scrap is plus buy. Importer is gains. You know what? I do have my suspicions. The other thing I've noticed, I think the bot is probably in its wheelhouse on, is 3-piling. It will just blitz down some pile and then start buying duchies, and then you're trying to build a real deck, and then you notice that the piles are out. And it's not bad at playing towards the pile out, even over like 2 turns. Like it'll just aggressively lower a pile, even if it can't immediately win. And so I'm thinking maybe the reason the bot is winning this kingdom so much is because like you both start buying stockpiles or something, and then the stockpile pile is empty, and then it also loves black cats. So maybe the stockpiles are empty, it empties the black cats, and then you're like, oh shoot, 2 piles are empty, I got to score, and then all of a sudden you're taking 10 curses in the game. And something like that maybe? I don't know. We'll find out in a second. What do I plan on doing? Well, Lackey seems just like a great card here. It's draw, it's actions, it's a good card in general. And there's not much better in the way of draw. Probably eventually you want to get up to a point where you're playing Masterminds. Definitely opening with a Scrap, maybe even 2 of them. Is Cardinal any good? So like one thing that your deck could potentially do, given that the payload here isn't amazing or anything, is like you could be building a deck that plays a bunch of Cardinals. But there's a decent number of cards here in the 2-cost range. Like again, hypothetically, if the bot is building the Stack of Black Cats deck, and then buying duchies or something. Cardinal doesn't hit black cats and does exile the duchies for them. So maybe Cardinal isn't a reliable plan. Not that it's a terribly strong card in general, but sometimes it's a reasonable kind of main goal of the deck, is just play Cardinal enough that your opponent stops having a deck. Bot also loves Importer usually. Wouldn't be surprised to see it use that here. The 5s are okay. We also have 5 favorites from Importer. Coastal Haven, that's interesting. I'm not sure what to do with that. Instinctively, I would think you just open Scrap, Stockpile. Usually want 1 Scrap for the estates. The second one has diminishing value. And Stockpile is a pretty good opener. It's plus buy, which helps you get the 2-cost cards, which look pretty decent here. Scrap, Stockpile, take some Lackeys and some Masterminds. Maybe is where this deck is going, I think. So first decision of the game that is non-obvious. What to set aside? Probably just both of them. I mean, it does leave a scenario where the Scrap is in the turn 4 hand and I don't have any estates, but I could just save them one more time to avoid that problem if it happens. In general, I just think spin favors earlier than later to get a tempo advantage is the right move. And this is functionally keeping 2 estates out of the shuffle. Yep, sure enough. So bottom 5 have 3 coppers estate. Sorry, 3 coppers stockpile and scrap. And all these estates are in my hand. This was the potential downside, but we can just burn 1 more favor to resolve that. Not sure what I'm buying here. The bot took what? The importer, and it bought a lackey, or a Lackeys. Annoyingly, some of the plural cards are pre-pluralized. So one of these is a Lackeys, and multiple are Lackeyses. I don't know. But yeah, saving a bunch makes sense. I don't know. I don't love the importer opening. I'm considering buying an importer here, but it doesn't strike me as the number 1 priority out of the opening. Yeah, I don't think I want a second scrap that badly. Don't need a stockpile until the first one's exiled. So I think importer seems good. I want mastermind sooner rather than later. Could also just be Lackeys here. Would be pretty reasonable. And let me just contemplate this really fast. Because a reasonable alternative would just be kill a copper with scrap, and then I've got 5 money to work with, which is a fine number. Could buy a 5. I could set aside another copper and buy 2 2s. That sounds pretty good. If I keep the estate, I can scrap it for probably taking a horse off of that. Probably not taking cards because I wouldn't want to trigger that shuffle. So if I did like horse coin, then I'd be hitting 7 and 2 buys. I could do horse buy and buy 3 2 costs. That sounds alright. It doesn't sound amazing. It gets an estate out of my deck though, as opposed to a copper, which is definitely a better outcome. So I'm thinking it's probably still worth it. Like, I like the idea of the other line of trash a copper and just buy 2 2 costs and save a copper using Coastal Haven. But the downside of the line is you still have 3 estates in your deck going into the next shuffle, and that doesn't sound very good to me. So I'm going to save one of these. Okay, so they played an importer. Turn 3 is definitely the better time to be playing your importer. This is a stressful order. So given the composition of the deck, it can't conceivably matter. Their only 2 terminals were already in their hand, so they played the importer before the Lackeys. But just as a matter of principle, I would get in the habit of playing your draw cards first, and then playing your not draw cards. Because in the case of where it could conceivably matter, this would always be the wrong order. It's one of those things where like a human would develop the habit of, if I'm playing my Lackeys, I'm playing it first, and would never play the cards in this particular order, I don't think. Okay, so definitely getting a horse. I think I like the idea of taking plus buy, and then could do like 2 Lackeys and a coin of the realm. Could just be 3 Lackeys even. I think the coin has time to pay off. Like, if this is a really fast kingdom, which, you know, it might be, stockpile runs, Lackeys runs easily, you might just not run into villagers before the game ends. In which case, maybe just taking the Lackeys immediately is better. Plus buy horse again looks pretty good to me. And just 2 more Lackeys. Oh, you know what? I left my stockpile on the mat. I can get that back. Maybe I'm doing that in this hand. Well, my bottom 6 cards have 3 coppers, a Lackeys, a coin of the realm, and an importer. So if I want the stockpiles in this shuffle, I would have to buy them now. Do something like... Oh, wait, no, there's a... Oh, this is a horse down there, but I played my horse. I kind of want the stockpile back, to be honest. What if I do... Man, I like draw, which is the reason I like horses. What if we do card and buy? Oh, I didn't realize that was going to automatically resolve. But it worked out all right. Most likely scenario is functionally taking +1 coin, but with some cycling. And I think, like, if I found the importer, I would be happy. If I found the coin, I would only be happy. If I found the Lackeys, I think that would be fine. Probably the worst outcome, but I'll just play it. So I would take stockpile, enter other Lackeys. And do I want to save that? Potentially, I'm presumably triggering a shuffle next turn, so saving it now makes it miss the shuffle. On the other hand, I'm only drawing like 2 cards into the shuffle, so it's not that likely to collide with the scrap, which I really want it to, which would be the argument against it. So I'm going to say no. I just worry that if I play Lackeys here, I don't find the scrap, and then the scrap doesn't do what it's supposed to do. I'm pretty sure I play the Lackeys. Costs a villager, but if it finds any of the stockpiles, I'm really happy. If this importer is missing the shuffle either way, whatever it gains is missing the shuffle either way. I think it's worth drawing. I should pay attention to what the bot is doing. Partly because I'm curious what the bot has been doing, and apparently it's best kingdom of the month. Played a mastermind, bought a Lackeys, bought an importer. Interesting. It's like the stuff it's doing all makes sense to me. Lackeys is good here, mastermind's good here, importer seems reasonable. But the omission of scrap and stockpile seems rather conspicuous to me. Those just seem like cards you definitely want to be using here. Oh my. I mean, it's doing a lot of something over there. Mastermind for moi. Card and horse, I would presume. And I believe there's another Lackeys down here. I hope I'm not wrong. Okay. I think that might be Lackeys. It's also possible that I'm mistaken. Obviously, if I just had the one terminal left, I probably would just burn a villager rather than calling the coin there. So definitely buying stockpile here. I could spend these last 2 favors to make some of these coppersmiths the shuffle, which sounds like a pretty good idea. So I think it's either stockpile importer, save 1 copper, or just stockpile Lackeys again, saving 2. I'll take importer. You never know, I might need that last favor for something. Don't know what. Okay, so what did they do? So I think this mastermind has kind of whiffed. They got the triple play mastermind, but now all 3 of their masterminds are stuck in play. There could be some massive importer turn coming in like 2 turns. Goodbye, villagers. I hardly knew ye. Okay, so mastermind's getting low. Lackeys is getting low. Stockpile is lowering slower than I would have expected it. But again, with the mastermind importer thing, and just kind of knowing how the bot plays in general, I'm expecting this to just be some I gain 9 duchies in a turn somehow. So what am I doing about that? Nine is an awkward number. I don't need this much money, I don't think. I'm seriously considering just buying like Coin of the Realm Lackeys. I want villagers and I want villages. I guess the Mastermind is a better village still than Coin of the Realm. Maybe like Mastermind Lackeys. I don't know if I'm going to trigger a shuffle next turn. I don't actually recall how much draw I've got down there. Okay, so big turn from the bot, and they bought a province. On the upside, they're out of Mastermind shenanigans for a minute because they resolved all of them. But they've got 4 importer plays coming in. Oh my. I think it's worth trashing this. And stockpiles for sure. I think this might be Black Cat time. I worry about lowering Lackeys with a points deficit. And bot is already in greening mode, so I think I like Black Cats here. Where are my cats at? What are they doing? Oh, bot did have a stockpile. It's gaining a second stockpile. Yeah, so bot seems to be eyeing the pile out. So with that in mind, let's see what they've done. So they resolved importers, gained a bunch of stuff, but they have no masterminds down, they have no importers down, and they haven't triggered a shuffle. Like, these stockpiles are still in their discard, and they've got at least 10 cards to get through. So I don't think they're threatening that many buys. I believe their only buys are the stockpiles that they just gained into their discard. So I think it would behoove me to just mastermind the importer and the mastermind and try to have a big turn 2 turns from now. Or next turn. I don't know why I said that. Next turn. And I don't think I need to take a points lead here or anything. Obviously, if I were trying to have a bigger turn this turn, I would be masterminding the Lackeys for immediate draw. Okay. So we're playing this. And it seems too late in the game to care about trashing the copper. I would take points here if I could. I mean, I could take an estate, but a non-negligible number of points I would take if I could. I have 1 favor remaining. I could save the scrap, which at least mitigates the disaster case of me just having no actions in my hand and then all these masterminds whiffing. I think I've got a lot of Lackeys down there, though. I ought to be fine. Also, if I don't have the Lackeys, I don't have great scrap targets either, I would presume. I could just buy nothing here and save the stockpile to have more money on the following turn. I am unironically a little bit worried about the what if I just have no good action targets in my top 5. I don't know if that's a reasonable concern or not. Like, if I've got a mastermind on top, I'd rather just scrap it at this point. Yeah, I don't know. There's nothing I just urgently want to buy right now. The card, like, if piles weren't a concern, I would just immediately buy 2 Lackeys because they're Lackeys. I think I could just like save the scrap and buy nothing That would leave my stockpile unexiled. I don't know if I can draw back around to it, but that seems at least plausible with as many masterminds as I have. Yeah, I don't know. For lack of a better option, I'm just going to do nothing. We'll see how that goes. It's a good starting hand. Might I interest you in a victory card? An estate, perhaps? Nope. Yeah, so I would really love it if I could end the game this turn, because Bot has 2 masterminds down and has saved a bunch of stuff, so their next turn will be big if they get one. So let's resolve one of these and just draw a bunch. One more, draw a bunch. And I think I probably want to gain stockpiles into my discard and then draw those. And I think gain 2 stockpiles plus 2 duchies should lead to a pretty easy Lackeys pile out. And probably the scrap is the best thing to play thrice here. Not gonna need the buys, I don't think. And I guess the coin can go. I don't think this is actually going to make a difference. I've got enough draw to make it either way. Card silver, or coin silver, I guess. I have 5 villagers, which is plenty, or 5 actions / villagers. And actions, play treasures. I could just pile out duchies, I guess. That works. And the Lackeys, for old time's sake. Alright, there's the hardest kingdom of the month. Yeah, I guess I can see what's threatening about this. You know, the piles get low, the bot starts doing its thing. Like that play where it gained a bunch of stockpiles, just like very transparently trying to end the game on piles. And if you're not careful, you know, it can catch you off guard. It likes Mastermind and Importer a lot, which leads to maybe some deceptively explosive turns. I do think one thing that the bot is good at that seems relevant here is the like pile out over 2 or 3 turn strategy, where like normally you're trying to dance around your opponent being able to pile out the next turn. Like you don't want to leave enough or few enough cards in the pile that they could end the game on their turn before you get another turn. And that's usually the thing you play around. Whereas the bot will just lower piles aggressively and take a points lead on the assumption like the pile out's coming, but you can't score enough to make the pile out not a realistic threat anymore. And I mean, like, that doesn't work if you have a grid turn, but it wins a lot of those outside games where you dud or you don't even have a full turn. Also, it can just catch you off guard. Like if you're not ready to start greening and it does that, then you know, you can have to pivot on the fly and put yourself in a bad situation. So I'm imagining that's probably the sort of stuff that made the bot like this kingdom a lot. Anyways, that's the game.